Hello, it's Wager Detective here. Thank you for tuning in to the Wager Detective Report. We're going to cap this game, the Nationals versus the Reds, tonight, May 12th, 2026. Be sure to follow Wager Detective on Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, and Facebook for betting strategies, content, etc. Let's get into this cap and get to it right now. If we look at what they are, the Nationals, again, you see on the screen here, 19-22 on the year. Okay, not a great record. And then for the Reds, they're coming back at 22-19. Reds been on a little bit of a rough stretch, which is it's pretty tough, right? They're just having had a rough time of late. They got a decent team, but let's get into this cap. We're going to start it off with the Nationals in road night games this year. They are 6-5, 3 over 8 under in road night games this year. The Nationals are scoring 5.09 runs per game to 4.36. Comes out to 9.45 runs per game average in their road night games this year. The Nationals are 4-2 against the spread, -1.5 in those 6 wins on the road night games this year. They've held opponents to 2 runs or less 5 times in those 11 road night games. The last 9 road night games, the last 9 overall, 4 over 5 under for the Nationals this year in their games. Their last 9, 4 over 5 under. They're scoring 4.6 runs per game to 5 for their opponents. If we look at the Nationals on the road this year, they are 13-9. They're 10-17 against right-handed pitching, and they're 6-6 in one-run games. They're 9-7 versus the National League Central this year. On the mound is going to be Milos Mikolas. He's 2-3 this year in his starts this year. 21.2 innings pitched, 22 hits, 22 earned runs, 7 home runs, 8 bases in balls, and 17 Ks. That's not a good stat line, right? 21 innings pitched, almost 22, 22 hits, 22 earned runs, 7 home runs, 8 bases on balls, and 17 Ks in his starts this year, where the Nationals are 2-3. That comes out to a 9.29 ERA, a 1.41 WHIP, and he's given up 2.95 home runs per 9 over those 5 outings. Okay? Now, you'll notice that his ERA says, when they look at it, it's 7.44, but if you go into his year-long outings and stats, he has come in relief in a number of those games that have brought that ERA down, but he is 9.29 ERA in his starts this year. Okay? They have won his last 2 outings, though, for Mikolas. The Nationals have won last 2 times he's been out. Okay, so Mikolas, he's going to be on 5 days rest here. He is his teams are 5-2. His last 7 5 days rest before the All-Star break. 4 over, 3 under in those games. In those games, on 5 days rest, he has given up 35.2. He's pitched 35.2 innings pitched, 40 hits, 31 earned runs, 15 home runs, and 16 walks. 6 walks, excuse me. That comes out to a 7.83 ERA, 1.29 WHIP, and a 3.8 home runs per 9 over his last 7 starts before the All-Star break on 5 days rest. So you kind of wonder, well, his team is 5-2 as the result, but all those numbers. So his teams are hitting for him to get into that position of winning those games. So I kind of expect that here as we go into this cap of what that might be. The Nationals, let's keep this cap going. The Nationals city-to-city series with 1 day off in between, they are, what are they? Let's see here. They're 3-4 in their last 7, the Nationals, on city-to-city 1 day off in that first game of the new series. 3-4 in those games. 5.28 runs per game average to 5.71, and that comes out to 10.99 runs per game. The Nationals, as we said, we'll go back over it. They're 5-5 in their last 10 overall, 4 over, 6 under. They're scoring 4.7 runs per game to 4.9. That comes out to 9.6 runs per game. In those last 10 games for the Nationals, their opponents have scored 5 plus runs 5 times in the last 10 games. Okay, Mikolas versus the Reds. In his last 5, he is, let's see here, I have the scores here, I don't have the record. So Mikolas' last 5 versus the Reds, 1 over, 4 under, that 10 that is set tonight. And he has 27 innings pitched, 33 hits, 19 earned runs, 23 K, strikeouts, 3 walks, and 5 home runs. That comes out to 6.33 ERA, a 1.33 WHIP, 1.66 Ks per 9, or no, excuse me, 1.66 home runs per 9 and 7.66 Ks per 9 over his last 5 starts versus the Reds. So 0-1, 1-1, 1-2, 2-2, 2-3. So Mikola's last 5 starts versus the Reds, the teams he's pitched for are 2-3 in the results, and it's 1 over, 4 under, and again, 27 innings pitched, 33 hits, 19 earned runs. He's got a 6.33 ERA in those games, 1.33 WHIP, and he's striking out 7.6 batters per 9. Now, if we take a look at the Cincinnati Reds, they are. Let's go to that part of the cap. So if you look at that side of the cap, not necessarily looking good for the Nationals, but I think as this cap goes on, I already did the cap, it kind of looks bad. Michaelis, he's given up some runs. It's tough, right? But if you look at the Nationals, they're a feisty team. You look at this lineup they got up tonight: James Wood, Garcia, Brady House, C.J. Abrams. Don't sleep on the guy Dalen Lilly, very good 5-hole hitter. Jacob Young. They got guys that can crack in that lineup. And if you look at the Reds, they got some big names over there. Dela Cruz, as we look at this lineup on the screen right here, they got Steer, Stevenson, but they haven't been playing well. But so let's get back into this Reds cap, see what they've done this year and some of their splits and trends. The Reds, they're 6-4 in home night games this year, 6 over, 3 under, 1 push. They're scoring 4.4 runs per game to 5.7 for their opponents. They are the Reds in the wins in their 10 home night games. They are 4-2 against the spread, -1.5 in those 6 wins. The Reds, though, 2-8 over their last 10 games overall, 5 over, 3 under, 2 push to that total that's set tonight at 10. They're scoring 3.1 runs per game to 6.1 for their opponents over their last 10 games. That comes out to 9.2 runs per game average. Let's see what else we got here on the Reds. The Reds, 7-4 in 1-run games this year. That kind of favors them a little bit more, whereas the Nationals, like we said, they're 6-6 in 1-run games. And if we look at against the National League East, the Reds are only 2-2. And this year they're 2-2 versus the National League East this year, where they faced the Marlins, where they had 1 over and 3 under that total of 10 in those 4 games this year. If we look at, what else do we got here? We look at the Reds. I found this stat pretty interesting. The Reds are 8-13 in their last 21 games versus the National League East, 4 over, 17 under. That's kind of a red flag to look for the under here in this game. 4 over, 17 under for the Reds in their last 21 games versus the National League East, and they're only 8-13 versus the National League East. They're scoring 3.47 runs per game to 4.38 for their opponents in those last 21 matchups. In the last 21 games versus the National League East, they've scored 2 runs or less 9 times in the split. That comes out to 43% of those games. They're scoring 2 runs or less versus the National League East. Now, we break it down to the last 10. The Reds are 4-6 in their last 10 versus the National League East. Gotten a little bit better. In the last 10 versus the National League East, they're scoring 3.1 runs per game to 4.5 for their opponents. Average score comes out to 7.6. Another lean to the under there. And in the last 10 versus the National League East, the Reds have scored 2 runs or less 6 times in the last 10 meetings. So 60% of their games versus the National League East last 10, they're only scoring 2 runs. The Reds, like we said, they're 7-4 in 1-run games. They're 2-2 versus the East this year. Now, if we get into the pitching matchup, Singer is going to be Brady Singer, former Kansas City Royal. He's going to be on the mound in this game. In his last 5 starts, the Reds are 3-2. 3 over, 1 under, and 1 push to that 10 total that's set tonight. In his last 5 starts, he's got 26.1 innings pitched, 32 hits, 14 earned runs, and 7 walks with 13 Ks, and he has given up a red flag 6 home runs in those last 5 starts. So in his last 5 starts, Singer has a 4.79 ERA, a 1.48 WHIP, and he's given up almost 2 home runs a game per 9 over his last 5 outings, and he's only striking out 4.4 batters per 9 over his last 5. Now, if we look at Singer, he is going to be on 5 days rest here, where the Reds are 3-1 in those games, surprisingly. And in those games, those 4 games, the Reds are averaging 4.25 runs per game to 3.75. That comes out to exactly 8 runs per game in Singer's 5 games on 5 days rest this year. In the 5-day rest games this year for Singer, 19.2 innings pitched, 27 hits, 9 earned runs, 5 home runs, 3 walks, and 10 Ks. Comes out to 4.13 ERA, a 1.53 WHIP. He's given up 2.3 home runs per 9 over his last 4 games this year on 5 days rest, and he's only striking out 4.6 batters per 9 over those games. So he's not missing a lot of bats. He's hitting the contact, as we see here. He's given up 27 hits in 19.2 innings on 5 days rest. So even though the Reds are 3-2 this year in Singer starts, even in those games that are mixed in between 5 days rest and other days rest, 26 innings pitched and 32 hits, 14 earned runs. I mean, it's tough to want to back a guy like this. This is where the cap kind of gets more interesting for me to want the Nationals in this game. The Nationals, they are 7-3 in the last 10 versus the Reds, 5 over, 5 under, that 10 that's set tonight. The Nationals are scoring 5.8 runs per game to 4.4 for the Reds. And if we look at the Nationals are 6-3 their last 9 at Great American Ballpark. The 4 over, 4 under, and 2 push to that 10. And the Nationals are scoring 4.9 runs per game to 4.2 runs per game for the Reds over their last 9 at Great American Ballpark. Now, if we look at this lineup, I do kind of lean. The one thing I didn't put in this cap, and I'll get better as we go, I didn't do the city to city because the Reds are going to be coming back home after a day off, but they're coming off the road. Whereas the Nationals are already on the road. They got a day off, but they're more focused. They're with their team. They're not around their family. Whereas the Reds are coming off a day off, but they're coming off of a road trip. That usually means being home with family, eating mom's home cooking, reading mail. This is stuff that was taught to me by other sharps. They're reading mail. They're coming home. They're relaxing. They're unwinding. And they are coming off 2 wins for the Reds. So they're coming home happy, fat and happy off the road wins. Not really playing good in their last 10, 2-8. Is that what we said? 2-8 in their last 10 for the Reds. So they're not playing great baseball as of late. Teams are scoring 6.1 runs per game against them in their last 10. And the Reds had a bad stretch there. And they won their last 2. So last 2 games of that road trip. Now they're coming home after a day off. A lot of distractions there after you come home from a road trip. So, and then you look at the head-to-head for the Nationals and the Nationals on the road at Cincinnati. That's going to lead me to just one way here, and that's going to be able to call this, the Washington Nationals for Wager Detective here. Plus 122 on the money line. I think that line is off. I think Mikolas can give you a little something here. I know his numbers don't necessarily look good when you look at what he's done this year, but I think under the context of what we're looking at, I think the Nationals' bats are a little bit better. They're playing a little bit better. They are 6-5 in road night games this year, and they're good on the road. They're 13-9 on the road this year. So I don't like the fact they're 10-17 against right-handed pitching, and that they're 1-6 in one-run games, or 6-6 in one-run games. But they are 9-7 versus the Central. And you look at the Reds. We already said they're 2-2 against the NL East. Splitting a series, a 4-game set with the Marlins. So I like the situational angle of it all. I like the fact that the Reds are coming back home after winning 2 on the road. They're having a day off of a road trip. They're going to be a little bit distracted maybe in this game. And I think that's a bad team against this lineup that you see right here. I think they got the lineup advantage. If you ask me, I would match the Nationals lineup with against Cincinnati any day of the week. I think they got a better lineup, and I think that'll show here tonight. So that's Wager Detective's call. The Washington Nationals plus 122 on the money line. And if there was a total set, I would lean under in this game. I think all the metrics we looked at lean towards an under, even though both pitchers with the high whip and the high this, that, the other. I think the one day off gives you a chance to focus on your opponent, and these pitchers probably took that day off to focus on their opponent. So I think they'll come out a little sharp, and you won't maybe see too many runs in the first 3 innings, maybe later on as the game goes, but I like the under 10 there as well. So Wager Detective with the Nationals money line plus 122, under 10, and that's the post here. Follow Wager Detective on Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, and Facebook. Be sure to set alerts on Twitter. This video will be going up on YouTube. Subscribe over there at Wager Detective. And more than anything else in the world, guys, know this: Wager Detective loves all his fans. I'll talk to you soon.